So this video is going to demonstrate a previous challenge solution. So I'm going to create an Xcode application. It's going to be a single view application, called this Login. Click Next, and I'm going to create this in my Bootcamp folder. And we're going to start with our storyboard here. So in order for our user to input his age, we're going to need a text field. So I'm going to get a text field from my library here. Pay attention, I'm using the blue guidelines every time I'm using my storyboard. And we're going to talk about these blue guidelines later on, how important they are. Then I'm going to change the placeholder of my text field to be enter age, so our user knows what's going on here. Then we're going to need a button, and the button is going to be here again, all the way up. We open this, and the button title will be login. And then we need a label. We drag and drop it here so we can notify our user what's going on there, and call this notification. Okay, so we have these three elements. Now we are going to open our assistant editor to connect them. So as usual, I'm going to connect my outlets on top, so they are available as global variables here. And this is going to be age text field. And we have our notification. Label, and we're going to do the rest in our under our view did load, where we're going to connect our function as an action and call this login button pressed. And let's get back to our normal view, and we're going to go to our view controller here. So right now, when I run my application, we're going to see what's going on there, if our application is set properly, because maybe we have some kind of errors here with our connections, if we have renamed or if we have connected them wrongly. So just to make sure that our application is working perfectly, we're going to do the test run here, and then we're going to continue our code. So our application is running nicely. As you can see, by default, when we run our application, we can see this notification here. But what I want to do is remove this, so I don't want to see anything here until our user clicks the login button. So what we can do is use our view did load function. So what this function does is it gets called every time our view, which is all this view here, when it loads first time. So that's why it's called view did load. So our view has loaded. So if we have any kind of user interface setup that we want to do here, we can do in our view did load function. So I'm going to say notification label dot text value is equals, and I'm going to put an empty string here. So if I run my application, it will, even though we have some kind of text in our label here, when we run, our view did load function will be called, and it will set the text into empty string, so it's no longer visible here. Then I'm going to use my login button pressed function here, and let me close these panels here so we have place. And as usual, we want to check if our user has put some kind of age in the text field. So we say if our age text field dot text is not equals to empty string, we are going to set our notification label. Else, we are going to again set our notification label, but we are going to give it a different information. So if I say notification label dot string, the text is equals, and we say it's a string, and say please input your age, and let's run our code and see if this is working. So I'm not putting anything there, I'm clicking on login. It says please input your age. So our else statement is working. Then let's create a global constant here. So we say let valid age is equals to 18. So we have our age here, which is global. And then I want to create a function, call this check age. And this function is not taking any parameters. Also, it doesn't return any parameters. So this function will just call, do its work, and that's it. It's going to stop. So now we are going to see how can we use this function to check our age. Because all these variables here are global variables, we can access them in any of our functions here. So when what we want our check function to do, check age function to do, is to check if the age text field the text that is in our age text field is equals to 18 or greater than 18. So we are going to say let inputted age is equals, and we are going to access our age text field dot text, and since it's an optional, it may be nil, so it may be empty. We are going to say that we want to unwrap this because we are sure that there is an age inputted in our text field, and I'm going to explain you why we are sure about this in just a minute, because we are unwrapping this without checking anything. Then now this input age is a type of string because whatever is in our text field is string. So in order to check, do an if statement and check if it equals or greater than our valid age, which is a type of integer, we are going to convert this input age into an integer. So I'm saying let age number equals, and I say int, and then I put input age, which is a string. So it will convert my age number into an integer. And again, we are going to unwrap this because this function that is provided by Swift may return a nil object if it fails to convert it to the integer. So now we can use our if statement, and we're going to check our inputted age with our valid age here. So we say if valid age is equals to inputted age, actually age number, because we have converted it to string. Then this function will be called, this if statement will be valid only if our user inputs 18. So this is, actually we need two equal sign here because we are checking the value. But what we want to do is to check if our age number is also greater than our valid age. So we're going to say if valid age is smaller than or equals to age number. So if our age number is greater than 18 or equals to 18, we're going to say notification label.text is equals welcome to app. And we say else, and we're going to say notification label.text is equals you cannot enter. And that's it. So this is a just simple if statement which is going to update our notification label. You see, this function doesn't take parameter or doesn't return anything, but it's going to update our user interface, so our user is notified what's going on there. So now about the checking if our text is empty or not. So in our login pattern, we have an if statement that checks if our text is empty. If it's not empty, the code here will be called. If it's empty, the code in our else statement will be called. So what we can do here, check if our text field is not empty, we're going to call our function checkAge. So I'm going to say check age. So when we call our checkAge function, it's going to convert our age that we have inputted to a number, and then check the valid age if the valid age is smaller than or equals to our age number, and then it will update our UI user interface depending on what type of age we have entered. So if I run my application, and let's try to enter nothing here. It says please input your age, and then I'm going to put 1 here. Click login, it says you cannot enter. If I put 19 and click login, it says welcome to the application. But this is another example of how we are going to use our if statements and function calls.